So we've looked at deploying applications in the Bluemix user interface and also on the command line. A third option is using the Eclipse integrated development environment. Within the Eclipse marketplace, there is a Bluemix plugin. This enables you to use the Eclipse IDE and target Bluemix as a deployment. You can work with JavaScript and Java within the Eclipse plugin. When you install the plugin, by default, you're going to get the US South and the GB region defined, but you can define other regions. So as new regions come online, or if you're using a dedicated, you can define additional Bluemix environments within the plugin very easily. You just simply say Manage Cloud, and then you have the option to add or edit the additional things. I've included the link on this slide where you can get all the information, all the URLs when working with different regions in Bluemix. So when you develop an application for Bluemix, there are a few changes you need to make to the application to allow Bluemix to manage the application. The first one is you have to use the environment variables to get configuration. When you write your application, Bluemix is going to tell you where your application should listen. So what host name and what port number your application has to listen on. And you need to use those values, otherwise Bluemix will not register your application as running. So there are two environment variables, vcap app host and vcap app port. You need to pause those and then use those to start your server listening. If you have your own configuration that you want to make available to your program, Bluemix also allows you to define your own user environment variables to provide configuration to the application. One file that you need to understand is the manifest file, manifest.yml. Rather than specifying options on the command line for CF push, you can set all the options in a file called manifest.yml. This means that when you do a push, all the settings are read from this file and you get a consistent deploy of your application. All the details about what can go into the file can be found on the Cloud Foundry website, and I provided the link on this slide. The last file we're going to talk about is the .cfignore. If you're familiar with gitignore, this file works in exactly the same way. When you push an application to Bluemix, it takes all content from the current directory and all subdirectories and will send all of those files to Bluemix. But that's not always the behavior you want. So cfignore allows you to specify files and directories to omit from that process. So by putting a file or a directory name into this file, you can stop those being sent to Bluemix. The .cfignore and the manifest.yml file should exist in the home directory from where you run cf push.